Welcome back to Sports Talk's Game Breakers here on Prime Video. I am Eitan Levine. As always, I am joined by the weekend that's here himself. Drexen Clemens over here to my right. In studio right now via Skype. I'll say it. What a freaking booking from the Tuned Into Tennis podcast. Give it up for Miles David.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Miles.
I can hear
You can hear us?
We're good?
Perfect.
Yeah,
How you
we're all
doing,
good.
man?
Hey.
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
No worries,
Nice.
no worries.
I like the shirt. I like how you dressed up. Very business.
Yeah,
You know, this is-
you got the whole podcast.
It's all in
right?
the name of Wimbledon.
Yeah. Well, you got it. That's this weekend. Most famous. It's the Super Bowl, basically, of tennis. It's got how big? You know, if you were to, we're a little bit tennis idiots here, to be completely honest. If you were to kind of contextualize how big Wimbledon is compared to the rest of the tennis calendar, what would you say about it?
It's the biggest tournament on the calendar. It's been around for the longest amount of time. It has a lot of prestigious history and champions. The Williams sisters have won there. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic. Like, the list of champions is insane. And if you're anybody, you've won that event or done well. So it's big.
Okay, so going into this weekend, like, why is it viewed as that much of a Super Bowl compared to the other ones like the French Open and the U.S. Open? Like, I know that everybody who's big has been there.
And the Springfield JCC yearly tennis throwdown that my parents are involved with.
Absolutely. Why, compared to those two, is it much bigger?
I think because of, one, the prestigious history of champions, and also the amount of prize money they shell out from the beginning round all the way up to the championship round. A lot of these players that may not be household names are bringing in six-figure paychecks for one round, 2-round wins, and a lot of people just have a lot of excited energy around it because of the payouts, because of the notoriety you get if you win, and just the clicks, the cameras all around the event. It's huge.
I just want to talk about also just in regards to the context in like the London social scene. You know, I feel like it's the kind of thing where like it's on Page 6, like National Enquirer, Daily Mail. You know, it's a big London event. It's kind of like New York Fashion Week or, you know, Sundance out here at Cannes. What is it? It's kind of standing in that London like culture calendar every year.
I think it just brings the people out, and I think it has a real connection with the royal family. I'm not a huge royal family buff, but a lot of prestigious people in that lane sit like really right behind the court. So it feels like you're playing in front of almost kings and queens, and that's a level of the prestige that some people like. It feels like you're playing in front of the most important people in the world. And the London media hype up that entire thing times 100 during the week of Wimbledon. So it's insane.
We have Kate Middleton right over there. She watches this show in the room, just staring at us, going 15 love. You know, just over.
Keep it going, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you specifically get into tennis yourself?
Honestly, just seeing it on television one day, way back in 2006, I saw Serena Williams. I'd really never seen somebody that looked like me, that had a story similar to mine, wield a racket, and then she had a story building behind her as far as like on the comeback trail. And I kind of just got enticed, and I've been tuned in ever since. I've just loved it, and it's my favorite sport.
Should I be looking at Coco Gauff as the next Serena, or should I be looking elsewhere for that right now?
I think it's a pretty safe bet that she's going to be a spectacular star in tennis and women's tennis. I don't necessarily think that she should be put in the realm of the next Serena Williams. I don't know if anybody should be in that realm because it's pretty lofty expectations and standards that Serena Williams has set. But Coco Gauff is doing very well in her own right to be a consistent top 10 player in women's singles and women's doubles. So she's doing great.
Let's talk a little bit about Wimbledon this weekend. You know, going into it, the two number one ranked players are Iga Swiatek. I'll never get her name right. Swiatek. Did I say that right? Swiatek. And Carlos Alcaraz. Did I get it? On the last one, I think I got it.
I know who you're talking about, so it's all good.
So, you know, going into this, my big first question is Djokovic won the French Open. Alcaraz is ranked higher. Do you agree with that ranking at all going into Wimbledon?
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair. I think Djokovic has really taken the route of wielding back on his schedule because of, one, his age. He's 36, I believe, and then also his his really intention is to win as many Grand Slams as he can. Whereas Alcaraz, a 20-year-old who's been on the scene for far less amount of time than Djokovic is, he's really finding his way and doing very well. He's winning a whole bunch of tournaments, and that is part of the reason why he's just ahead of Novak Djokovic in the rankings.
And with Iga Swiatek, is there anyone currently in the field that you think could dethrone her this weekend at Wimbledon?
Yeah, I think she's susceptible because grass is not necessarily her favorite surface. She hasn't shown a whole bunch of confidence at the tournament. So I think other names like Aryna Sabalenka, who's right on her heels and could play for the #1 ranking at Wimbledon, is a factor. And also last year's champion, Elena Rybakina, is also a factor and has a pretty good head-to-head against Swiatek.
My favorite surface, by the way, kitchen tile.
Absolutely.
Smooth as heck, man.
Absolutely. You could slide across it. You could do that, din, you know?
More screeching. We need more screeching in tennis. I'm just going to say it.
Absolutely. What about Venus Williams? I know that she came and knocked out, I believe, the 48th ranked person. Should we be seeing a good run from her this weekend or no?
It's possible. I always think about Venus as like a really old and good Cadillac. Like it just gets better with time, you know? She's 43, I believe, out there swinging with the best of them. You know, she's not necessarily moving from corner to corner, which is what made her a household name and the legend that she is, but she's playing good tennis in her own right. She has a very tricky opponent in the first round in a former top 5 player and Wimbledon semifinalist, Alina Svitolina. So it could be tricky right out the gate for her, but all eyes are going to be looking at her because we don't know how many Wimbledons she's going to be playing in the near future. So, I mean, it's just all good vibes for Venus.
Guys, got a question about that. It's interesting. You're talking about, like, watching Venus. You know, obviously you've been following her career early on until now. You're watching someone achieve greatness and then slowly have to modify their game to fit their current body and their current limitations. In tennis, is there anything that's different versus other sports? You know, when you see like LeBron getting older, and you know his load management is different, or you see certain players, you know, in ice hockey, you know, maybe taking a more a passive role. You know, in tennis, what is it like watching a player age?
It's not necessarily fun. It's not up there on my top 10 things of things to do, but like you mentioned, it's not a passive sport in the fact that you can't pass the ball to anybody. Like every single thing in singles depends on you, so there's nowhere to really hide, and all the things that are kind of deteriorating about your game are put on full display that your opponent can take advantage of. So that is not great. However, I mean, just being able to witness and see the longevity in somebody's career like Venus Williams is astounding in its own right, you know?
You know, but that's why pickleball is so fun. Once tennis is done, she can get on a smaller court with another 45-year-old.
Put the gun down. We're joking.
And then boom, and a cacao, you know. As a tennis reporter, with the rise of pickleball currently, how are you looking at that? Are you looking at that as like, this is nowhere even close to anything I'll ever report on? Or are you looking at it as a genuine contender against tennis at some point?
It depends on what side of the bed I woke up on that morning, because sometimes I'm a local tennis league and there's literal pickleball being played in place of tennis. And I feel like a lot of people that are tennis aficionados and just support the sport don't really love the fact that our space is being taken up by pickleball players, which sucks. But I do appreciate the fact that there's another similar sport that people can engage in and kind of get that feeling of playing a racket sport. So it's cool. I just wish they had their own space. I
want to go back a little bit more, just talking about Wimbledon this weekend. Who are kind of the dark horses, lower ranked people that you're going to be looking at this weekend to potentially make a deep run in the tournament?
For sure. We mentioned Coco Gauff. I think she has opportunities there. I think Frances Tiafoe out of the JTCC Maryland area has some really, really good vibes coming in. He just picked up a title on grass. A former champion, Petra Kvitova, she's won twice at Wimbledon. She also comes in with some form, picking up a grass court title. We mentioned Sabalenka, Rybakina, Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner. So it kind of feels like there's some heavyweight champions, but then also it's tennis. Like everybody has to lace up their shoes, and we could be looking at a wild winner come last Sunday.
Are we gonna? I just want to say this. Are we at all gonna see once again Kate Middleton getting up, yelling at a ref, yelling at a line judge or anything like that? That's what I want to see this weekend.
She might be there square and center, so you might want to cross your fingers and set your DVR for it.
Listen, are there any celebrity appearances at the Wimbledon that you are really looking forward to? I know that is a big event for the royal family and also a whole bunch of celebrities coming through. Are there any people in your mind that you want to see?
You know, I was watching a throwback video of Wimbledon, and there's a character from Sex and the City that says she likes to pop up at that tournament. I can't remember her name.
Wait, who's Samantha?
She's pretty
Carrie?
controversial. Yes, Samantha. I think it's
Samantha? Oh,
Yeah.
Which one's Samantha?
she's the one who's free with her body more than the rest of them, I guess.
Big Sam.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. That sounds
Wimbledon,
about
more
right.
like
She should be
Wimbledon.
pretty.
Sign me up. You know, like I'm sure she said something like that. Get it? We got it. You
We
get
got it. We got
got
it.
it.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a really good.
Have you, last question for you here. There have been a lot of sports documentaries coming out, like, you know, Drive to Survive for F1 and Breakpoint for tennis. Have you been noticing a more general interest in tennis since the release of Breakpoint?
Great question. Yeah, I think there's been an uptick. I think people are just generally interested in who those next names are going to be to kind of fill the spot of a Serena, Roger, and Rafa as they age out and retire. I think people are just genuinely interested in what makes tennis tick the way that it does, how hard it is to get into, what kind of prize money the players are playing, the elaborate cities they go to. People are just mentioning me in tennis conversation, just like, hey, did you watch that match? Did you watch this match? A little bit more than they used to. And I think some of that can go back to documentaries like Breakpoint on Netflix. So it's good. It's good to see.
Well, Miles, thank you so much for joining the show. You got to come back on after Wimbledon and let us know how it all went, all right?
For sure. I'd love to.
Tell the king I say hi and to return my text messages.
Thank you so much, man. You know, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more Sports Talk Game Breakers right after this, baby.
Bing, bing.